This is Arkies in the Beltway, your look at national politics and the Arkansans influencing the discussions. I'm Alex Thomas, Washington correspondent for the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, reporting from the nation's capital. Thank you for joining us for this edition of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of September 28th, 2025. If you recall the start of Donald Trump's second presidency, one of his first actions upon returning to office was shutting down the nation's most significant agency for distributing international assistance. The U.S. Agency for International Development had been providing foreign aid and development services for more than 6 decades, but the Trump administration opted to end most of its contracts and shift remaining services to the State Department. Thousands of people lost their jobs as a result of this change, including one Arkansan who shared her story with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette.
My name is Bethany Hutchins. I'm from Little Rock, Arkansas.
Hutchins lives in the nation's capital. She joined USAID in July 2020 after spending time with the Peace Corps, another public agency addressing international challenges, as well as several nonprofit organizations. Hutchins worked in the Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance, which oversaw emergency response efforts and long-term rebuilding projects in foreign countries.
Finding that combination of working for the U.S. government, doing something really good for the U.S. government, something that made a good name for us, at the same time as helping people around the world it was everything I wanted it to be.
The United States created USAID in 1961. The original purpose, to streamline the nation's foreign assistance work amidst the Cold War and the Soviet Union's growing influence. The agency's budgetary resources, nearly $36 billion in the current fiscal year, made up less than 1% of the federal budget. USAID used this funding to support not just its own immediate and long-term responses, but also nonprofit organizations in their humanitarian relief work. Sean Roberts is the Assistant Dean of Undergraduate Studies at George Washington University's Elliott School of International Affairs. He says USAID was an important component of the United States' international presence.
It reflected on the United States' reputation globally, the idea that the United States was a beacon of democracy and human rights, but was also cared about the rest of the world.
Hutchins' work ranged from serving on rapid response teams addressing immediate disasters to studying ongoing crises in Europe and Asia. Hutchins recalls the emotions of sitting in orientation, learning about what she would be doing.
It's one of those things when you're growing up, I guess, you know that you could be a teacher and a doctor and a lawyer and all of the known professions, but those ones that aren't the most popular and don't really know that they exist, when you find that and it feels like it's what you're supposed to be doing, it just felt like a relief.
Hutchins thought she would have a long and rewarding career with USAID. At the start of the year, she was eyeing a regional advisory role in Costa Rica as her possible next step.
I really believed in the work that we were doing, particularly humanitarian assistance, because it's so kind of cut and dry that there's a need that you need to respond to, and you can provide that assistance and alleviate that suffering, provide starving people with food or water or shelter when they don't have any. That was just such an easy, why wouldn't you want to do that?
When the second Trump presidency began in January, she did not believe the White House would make decisions that would essentially shut USAID down.
Why would we be a target? I think was also the attitude of we're not in peril.
On his first day in office, Trump signed an executive order temporarily pausing foreign development assistance, contending programs did not align with American interest. In early February, USAID employees were told they would start working from home. By the end of the month, crews had removed USAID signage from its Washington headquarters, and employees were on administrative leave. Hutchins received her notice of termination on March 21st. Her final day with the agency was April 20th.
I just never imagined my life not involving USAID in some way, whether it was working with an NGO that was funded by USAID or whether it was working with USAID directly. It's just unbelievable to me that they have dismantled it fully in a few months, work that had been going on for 60 plus years. All of the institutional knowledge, all of that stuff just, gone.
Amid the dismantling effort, the White House claimed USAID had problems with wasteful spending and abuse. Trump described the people running the agency as, quote, radical lunatics. Tech billionaire Elon Musk, then serving as an advisor to the president, called USAID a criminal organization. Hutchins notes this level of criticism against the agency was unusual, especially because of USAID's apolitical nature.
The tone was like we had finally been caught doing something wrong, and we all needed to get our act together.
Roberts says claims of unaccountable spending within the agency do not add up, especially because Congress had the authority to scrutinize USAID programs as much as they pleased.
There's been much more scrutiny of USAID than many other programs that the government has. There's always been Congress members who have been opposed to foreign aid just on the principle that there are enough problems in the United States, and so why are we doing this assistance abroad? There's always been an idea that it was actually a very significant part of the U.S. government budget, when in fact it was less than 1%.
Randy Chester serves as vice president of the American Foreign Service Association, the professional body representing foreign service workers. He says leaders from both major political parties had supported USAID's work, recognizing its importance in addressing international challenges.
Like the rest of my colleagues, public service is important to me, and it's something that we believe America should do. We believe in the values of America of, supporting democracy around the world, promoting people out of poverty. That's what is important to us, and we believe that that's important, should be important to the American public and American foreign policy.
The Trump administration canceled most of USAID's contracts in March, moving all remaining programs to the State Department. USAID's workforce had eclipsed 10,000 people worldwide, but Chester notes this number does not reflect people whose work received USAID support. Nonprofit organizations no longer have the funding to administer humanitarian programs overseas. Other domestic partners, such as farmers with contracts to fulfill food orders, lost a business partner.
One of the things I always like to point out to people is, they say, we spend billions and billions of dollars overseas. And I'm like, no, actually, we spend billions of dollars in the United States, because everything we do through U.S. firms or U.S. NGOs.
Hutchins has spent the last few months coming to terms with USAID's closure, as well as looking for work. She says it has been a challenging job search. Not only is she competing against former colleagues for jobs, but organizations involved in international assistance are not hiring right now. This is because there's no federal funding to support their programs.
I imagine it's going to take me a while to find something.
We asked Hutchins if, in a situation where the Trump administration reversed its course, she would be willing to rejoin USAID. She said yes, but with reservations.
The way that they tore things down was just done in such a cruel fashion. I really think that they were trying to make us feel like we were bad actors, that we had bad intentions.
The Democrat-Gazette did contact the State Department to better understand how it will administer former USAID programs. The department did not return a response. There's little time remaining for Congress to avert a government shutdown. The Senate and House of Representatives failed to agree on a short-term funding measure before lawmakers left Capitol Hill for Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish New Year. The Senate returns to Washington on Monday, but the House's first scheduled votes aren't until October 7th. House Republicans backed a continuing resolution funding the government until late November, but Democrats want Congress to use this time to also address the expiring Obamacare tax credits. Republicans control both chambers of Congress, but their proposal needs 60 votes in the Senate. They hold only 53 seats in Congress's upper chamber. We're also waiting for a possible relief package for farmers. Senator John Boozman of Rogers has been involved in discussions with congressional colleagues and the Trump administration regarding the current economic conditions in the agriculture sector. Boozman serves as the chair of the Senate Agriculture, Nutrition, and Forestry Committee. Farmers have been calling on lawmakers to provide some form of assistance, with many producers continuing to struggle due to low crop prices and high input cost. Speaking to reporters last Thursday, the president floated using tariff collections to fund this relief.
We're going to take some of that tariff money that we made, we're going to give it to our farmers, who are, for a little while, going to be hurt until it kicks in. The tariffs kick into their benefit. So we're going to make sure that our farmers are in great shape because we're taking in a lot of money.
The Trump administration's embrace of tariffs has impacted farmers. Agriculture companies have raised the prices of fertilizer, parts, and other imported products as a result of these taxes, passing these costs on to their customers. And that'll do it for this edition of Arkies in the Beltway for the week of September 28th, 2025. You can stay up to date with all news involving Arkansas at arkansasonline.com. Special thanks, as always, to the team down in Little Rock. I'm Alex Thomas, and this has been Arkies in the Beltway. Thanks for listening.